Hey guys, Redact here, coming to you today with a VOD review of Muselk on Lúcio. This was our first night of scrims as the Australian team, and in a bit of defense, based on what you're going to see soon with Muselk's Lúcio play, is that usually he doesn't play Lúcio, and on top of that as well, he had probably been up for about 20 hours straight at this point in time when we decided to scrim. He manned up and played anyway, even though he was super duper ultra tired. Since he'd been up since like 3 a.m. that morning and we scrim at 10 p.m. at that night, he's been up since forever. So take it all with a grain of salt, but I still think it's really good to review because what it'll do is it'll sort of help us reinforce some of the basic mistakes other people might be making if they watch this video, as well as other mistakes where when he's more awake, he may still make some of the same mistakes that we can make sure we stamp them out in time for our World Cup games. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to play some of the rollout, and I'll be stopping and starting the video as things sort of happen. You'll be able to hear the comms in the background a bit more quiet. I've made it so that I'm louder than the comms that you hear, but I'll just pause and explain points and why you should do, or what the different choices were that he could have made, or how we could have fixed certain situations. So on the rollout here, the first thing you notice, he speed boost straight away, which is perfectly fine. You should generally always be doing that. But the first mistake he makes is right here. You see straight away that he's trying to go forwards into the choke rather than sitting back. He doesn't need to be this close to benefit his team with the speed boost, and the amount of damage that Lúcio provides is quite small in comparison to making sure he stays alive for the speed or the heal. They're a lot more important than the damage that he deals. So the first thing you'll see is he goes forward straight away, starts to take a lot of damage. I pause it again. And he's actually, at this point in time, apart from our Winston, he's the most forward player on the team. You can see the Winston here. Now, Tracer's going around and flanking, but the rest of the characters, like our Zarya, our Reaper, and our Ana, are all behind him. So he's just taking the brunt of the damage here. He moves back and he dies straight away. Before, he's the first person to die when he should realistically be probably the last to die, because they're not even going to try to focus him normally. They'd rather focus the Ana. Or focus players that are right in front of them, like the Winston or the Tracer that's right in their face. He pretty much where he died, just behind this pole on the left, is a good spot where he could have stayed instead. He could have shot down the choke when they pushed through the choke, would have affected the whole team with speed, and he also would have been able to see on the left side to see any incoming threats from that side. Because while the Ana could also be back in supporting and spotting those things, Ana needs to actually shoot the targets in the choke to keep her heals up, whereas Lúcio can sort of just check both directions, keep on the comms, and he doesn't need to actually shoot a specific target or do anything really too specific to keep his major benefit to the team, which is his auras. You'll see that we don't win on the rollout there. A big thing was that we lost one of our key supports really early. It is a super close rollout. One thing he does here is he's on speed to get in there faster, but you see he turns around to spot there's someone else coming with him. He sees there's no one else spawning, so he decides, you know what, since we're still fighting on the first point here, just going to speed boost straight away and go in, which is a good choice because our call was to actually keep fighting the point, even though since it was really, really close and we still could win either way, was to get back in there as fast as possible and keep fighting. You'll see that he does go forward quite a bit onto the point, which is fine. That was the call. We need to stop them from capping, which he does here. He's the first one to contest. He's going around the top just to contest as much as he can there. But with that in mind, he could have possibly sat around the edge around here on the left. Or there's going to be a spot where I see a bubble that I'll point out that's a good spot for him to stand instead. Here we go. He could have stood around here on the right instead and contested the point from here. Sure, they had players coming from there, but the reality is if he stands on either here or one of the back points, he can provide his auras to the team. If he's closer here, anyone coming in to the point will also be able to gain benefit from the auras, or fighting around here will be able to gain benefit from the auras. But he'll also be able to shoot and do damage and spot things rather than spinning around the statue where all he's doing is providing an aura and being sort of an annoying target. He can still be a target, an annoying target off the side, staying away from his other DPS to sort of spread the damage, but he also could provide his own damage and have better vision of what's going on if he sits around there. At this point in time, he's just holding the point as much as he can. Since we'd already lost, there's no point in him trying to retreat and then dying later. It's better that he dies sooner, so he spawns sooner, we can get back in sooner. We decide to change up to the Zen. just because we thought it would be better against their comp and how everything was going along. They had a lot of potential to kill our Ana really easily, so we swapped that over. One thing I want to point out is I missed that over here, is what happens is he'll boost straight away when he spawns. And I'll explain why that's not the best choice. So he boosts straight away here to get the Zenyatta closer as fast as he can. But the reality is, it saves maybe 1 second between here and that choke point up there, where for one character, himself and also the Zen, whereas we actually need the speed boost to push in a lot better. If the speed boost can benefit 6 people rather than 2, unless there's exceptions like needing to get on the point before the time runs out or something like that, usually you just want to save it for an extra couple seconds so you can get everyone in range. See, there's a call just there to speed them in. He's on 7 seconds cooldown, which he should have communicated to us. Again, he's zombie mode, so that's fine. Elliot's had a long day with the Halloween release. But you really want to try to save your boosts for pushes or big fights. A boost in the middle of a fight or the boost to engage a fight is going to be so much more important than a boost just to get to a choke point or to get to something that nothing's actually happening. We did lose someone straight away, so it would have been a retreat anyway. But with that in mind, it's still much better to save your boost for a fight like that, to push through a choke, because it's just so hard to get through a lot of chokes in this game, so I wanted to save the boost. Again, use it again straight away there, which wasn't quite the best choice. And again, everyone's moving in here. You can see how much spam we start to take, and it would have been so much better to speed boost through, not have to worry about that. And there's another call for it again straight away. In this spot here, one thing to remember is Lúcio doesn't have fall-off damage. That means you can shoot from as far as you want and he'll still do the same damage. Whilst, yes, it's harder to hit if you're further, you don't need to be super far forward. Right here, after the Zarya dies, he's actually the forward-most player on our team, again, apart from the flanker. He's ahead of our McCree, which doesn't really need to happen. He's ahead of our Zen, which you can be around further ahead than the Zen, that's okay, but being ahead of your Monkey as well as your McCree isn't quite the way to go. It's easy to sit back, see what your team is doing, and react to them. That's another big thing here, is that not just being in front means you get more damage, it means you can't see your team, you can't work with them. You don't know if people need heals that easily. You don't have this UI when you're playing, obviously. Or you don't really see if people need speed to save themselves. You only see yourself and what you're doing. And of course he dies earlier than some of the other players on the team, despite being one of the lowest priority targets, because he's so far in front. We do actually end up taking back the point, so you'll be able to see some attack as well from the defending perspective. He boosts straight away here. He swaps the heal because he's super tired, but the reality is you really just don't want to be boosting when spawning unless there's a really specific exception. In this one here, he plays it a lot more passive. You can see he's got everyone in his vision. He's sitting back as far as the Zen is, which is a lot better with how you want to play. He's able to actually get shots in. The Tracer as well has to dedicate a lot of resources just to get close enough to try to kill him, which is perfectly fine. He goes off to the side here. And the really good thing is, whilst, yes, he's not super close to the team, these players are still going to get his speed boost. The McCree doesn't need his speed boost, but he's also providing a spread of targets. Like if the Zarya is right-clicking, or the Genji decides to cleave in, or the Winston leaps in just to start cleaving your players, if he's down here with the rest of them, all three of you are going to get damage at the same time. Whereas if you're on the side here, they have to split their resources. If you're getting shot at here, it means the players here should be able to flank them or do some work, or vice versa. If you're here and your players are here, it means that you're able to actually sort of watch what's going on. The McCree is able to get shots in because it's a perfect angle for him. It's just a lot better to be spread out, but still within range of each other, and also not to be in a position where you're the main focus or the front target. He goes around the wall, and this is really smart here. If he didn't swap to that boost, just the heal boost for just a couple seconds, our McCree probably would have died. The good thing is from the position he was at, he could see the McCree was starting to get hurt. If he was on the middle of the point, facing towards them or something, he couldn't have seen something like that. That's why you want to be in a position where you can see your whole team at all times. You can't always expect your team to call things on the drop of a hat or perfectly. It's much easier for you to see it yourself and make your own decisions on those sort of things. Again, he's playing from the front here, which is perfect sort of position. He doesn't need to go in super far, which is the main thing he does. And he saw his team was really low. He went for the heal boost straight away. There was no need for the speed, which is perfectly fine. He's just messing around now since we already have the point. And now you can start to see the sort of defense perspective. Here's a good thing. Moving forward, when they're sort of still setting up phase or getting ready to push in, he moves forwards, takes a couple of shots. Sure, he's already got alternate, but just that extra little damage or that sort of presence is something as well that's really, really good. It does take a shot there, but that's fine. Takes a little bit of damage. It doesn't really do too much. Was called to use the Lúcio ult early, and this is one of the main things. Like you want to, he does miss the McCree, as you can see there. It doesn't get the boost, but the reality is you just want to use it really early. You don't want to try to save it as much as you can and save a player or react to one of their ults with Lucio's. It's got too much of a delay, and the way it works as well is that if someone's super low health and then you use it, you're not going to generally stay on heal during that time, and they're not going to get healed during that time. They'll just go in 2 to 3 seconds, they'll just go straight back down to 50 health or such, what they were on. You're usually going to be on speed for the whole time for this ultimate, so you want to use it early, and then you can just engage straight away with it, which is what we did here. You see we dropped it, and heaps of our players start to move forward to cut off their supports and easily clear them up. So you can see the Zarya AFKs, because the reality is if the Zarya tries to use abilities and run away, he knows he isn't going to get a kill. But if he tries to use all those abilities and run away, he may delay his death for another few seconds, and then that means it delays their push for another few seconds, and we get another few seconds worth of percent. So the reality is he wants to die sooner rather than later. But that's not something related to Muselk's play. Muselk, sorry. So on the next fight here, he probably should have been on speed, again, to retreat as soon as they come in. There wasn't too much anyone taking any damage. He's playing in a bit of a weird spot. But the reality is, he can sort of play on the walls or whatever, but if he was down here, again, he would have had vision of the front, he would have had vision of the side coming in here as well. He would have been able to take a couple shots, help break the monkey shield, all sorts of different stuff. And he just doesn't provide those benefits by wall riding and trying to do fancy things. You generally want to wall ride and do all that sort of stuff when you're the last character left and you're trying to save time, or you need to make the jump. Whereas when he sits on the ground and doesn't focus on his movement and such, he just focuses on his auras and some of the extra damage he can provide. It's incomparable to wall riding, because that doesn't really give you anything. One thing to notice is that even during some of the hairiest fights, we have speed on. You want to have speed on a lot like this. Like the general benefits that speed provides is a lot more in the 2 support situation in comparison to running the heals. Like the speed is really one of the strongest things in the game, is the main and pretty much the main reason that Lucio's ran. As you can see there, even though he died, since Termo had the speed there, our Zarya, he was able to play around the poles and you see 3 of them are getting distracted purely because he has speed. They have to run all around and do extra stuff just because he has the speed to run around and play with it. So the healing wouldn't have done that. The healing would have gave him a couple of extra health, and they would have just chased him down, no problem. Whereas since you can see that Lucio's on heal and our Lucio's on speed, our characters were able to play the pole really, really well, and it just distracted them for so long, which is how we got a lot more damage on them compared to what they got on us, and how we ended up winning the fight. As you can see here, we're in the last place to clean up, and this is one thing to note as well. When they've only got 1 or 2 players left, unless every single one of your players is super low, you generally want to have speed on instead, because what's going to happen is they'll try to run away to get out of the fight. No need to die for them, and you'll want to chase after them to ensure you get the kills. So playing around the Genji here for a bit, and they decide to start to come back in. Muselk's playing around the pole, but again, he doesn't gain too much from playing around the pole. He could have easily played on the point, provided some damage, had better vision of his own team and what he was doing, rather than playing around the pole in this situation. And probably would have saved him from dying there, because he would have seen they were coming after him straight away, and he wouldn't have needed to die in that spot. With this one here, we decide to continue and fight on, which is why he speed boosts straight away. The sooner he gets there, the better. There's no need to save it for a choke or anything, and he's getting a Zarya there faster as well. We end up leaking the last few players. We end up securing it in the overtime, and then we managed to win that map. But with that one there, I'll leave it play actually. I hope you did enjoy watching this. I hope you guys watch us in the World Cup. That should be coming up in the next few days. You'll see this team here that we scrimmed with is Team Australia. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video and hope you learned a lot. Also, feel free to check out our channel for any further videos and subscribe. Thanks.